She thought she could have her cake and eat it too. She truly believed I was just the safe, boring husband who would keep the lights on while she went out to play. When my wife Chloe sent me a text from her work trip saying she was done with monogamy, but demanded I stay loyal, she thought she held all the cards. She assumed I would beg, cry, or just accept it to keep her happy. She was wrong. I didn't get mad. I got even. In less than 40 minutes, I made one strategic move that didn't just ruin her night, it imploded her entire reality. Welcome back to Inspiration Seeker. If you enjoy stories about malicious compliance, instant karma, and standing your ground, do me a favor. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. And let me know in the comments, if your partner sent you that text, what would you have done? Let's get into the story. To the outside world, Chloe and I were the absolute poster children for the modern American dream. We were living in a sprawling 4-bedroom colonial in the upscale suburbs just north of Chicago. You know the type of neighborhood I'm talking about, perfectly manicured lawns that smell like fresh-cut grass on Saturdays, 2 luxury SUVs sitting in the driveway, and neighbors who smile but never really ask how you're doing. We had the look down perfectly. I'm Ethan, a 34-year-old senior financial analyst. My entire world is built on risk assessment, stability, and cold, hard numbers. Chloe, on the other hand, was 32 and a rising vice president of marketing. Her world was built on perception, image, and flash. And to be brutally honest with you, I was the one funding the flash. While she made a decent salary, every cent she earned went into her wardrobe, her spa days, and maintaining the boss babe aesthetic she curated for Instagram. I covered the mortgage, the utilities, the car notes, and the investments. I was the rock, she was the kite. I was fine with that arrangement because I loved her. I took pride in being the guy who could give her that life. The morning she left for this crucial industry conference in Las Vegas, the air in Chicago was biting cold. I remember waking up early to make her coffee, just the way she liked it with oat milk and 2 pumps of vanilla. I loaded her heavy Louis Vuitton luggage, which I had surprised her with for our anniversary, into the back of my Escalade. She was buzzing with a nervous energy that morning. She kept checking her phone, telling me this trip was going to be a game changer for her career and that she needed to network with some high-level executives. Looking back, I should have noticed the signs. She was a little too protective of her phone screen. She spent a little too much time picking out her outfits, packing dresses that were definitely more suited for a nightclub than a boardroom. But I trusted her. I drove her to O'Hare Airport, pulled up to the departures lane, and leaned over to kiss her goodbye. She gave me a quick, distracted peck on the cheek and hopped out without looking back. As I watched her disappear through the sliding glass doors, I felt a sense of pride. I thought I was supporting my ambitious wife. I had no idea that to her, my stability had become suffocating, and that she was already planning her escape before the plane even took off. Fast forward to Tuesday night. The house was quiet, that specific kind of silence you only get in the suburbs on a weeknight. I had ordered a deep dish pizza from Lou Malnati's, my guilty pleasure when Chloe wasn't around to judge my carb intake, and settled into the leather recliner in the den. The Chicago Bulls were playing a tight game, and for a moment, life felt simple. I was relaxed. I had a beer in hand, the game was in the 4th quarter, and I was honestly enjoying the solitude. Then, my phone vibrated on the side table. The screen lit up with a notification from Chloe. I glanced over, expecting the usual check-in. Maybe a photo of a fancy cocktail, a complaint about how much her feet hurt in heels, or a sweet, "I miss you" text to close out the night. It was 10 p.m. in Chicago, which meant it was only 8 p.m. in Las Vegas. Prime time for dinner and drinks. I picked up the phone, unlocked it, and stared at the message. I had to read it 3 times because my brain refused to process the sheer audacity of the words on the screen. I'm done with monogamy. I need variety. You stay loyal. I didn't drop the phone. I didn't scream. I just sat there, frozen, while the crowd on the TV cheered for a 3-pointer I didn't even see. The text sat there, glowing with a toxic kind of arrogance. It wasn't a question. It wasn't a request for a discussion about our marriage counseling or our needs. It was a declaration. A demand. Let's break down what she was actually saying. I need variety, was corporate speak for, I want to sleep with other men. She didn't want a divorce. She didn't want to leave the comfort of the life I provided. She wanted a hall pass. She wanted the thrill of the single life in Las Vegas without losing the financial security of her husband back in Chicago. But the part that really made my blood run cold was the last sentence. You stay loyal. That was the kicker. That was the ultimate disrespect. She was telling me that she was the prize, and I was the utility. She expected me to sit at home, loyal and waiting like a golden retriever, keeping the bed warm and the bank account full, while she went out to sample the buffet. She was banking on the fact that I was too safe, too boring, and too in love with her to do anything about it. She thought she had me trapped. She had no idea she had just handed me the key to my own freedom. In a moment like that, you expect to feel heartbreak. You expect the tears to start welling up, or a wave of nausea to hit you in the gut. But, honestly, I felt nothing but a sudden, icy clarity. It was like someone had turned off the heating in my soul. I didn't throw the remote at the TV. I didn't call her screaming. I didn't pace the floor. I just sat there and let my training take over. See, in my line of work as a financial analyst, emotions are liabilities. You don't make decisions based on how you feel about a stock plummeting. You look at the data, you assess the risk, and you execute a strategy. My brain instantly switched gears from loving husband to risk management officer. I looked at the timestamp on the message again. It was received at 10:02 p.m. Central Time. That meant it was 8:02 p.m. in Las Vegas. Why is that specific time important? Because 8 p.m. in Vegas isn't thinking about lifetime. It's dinner time. It is prime reservation time. I closed my eyes and pictured the scene. Chloe wasn't sitting alone in her hotel room contemplating the philosophical nature of relationships. No, she was sitting at a table with white linen tablecloths, probably at a trendy spot like Catch or Stiquet inside the Cosmopolitan. She wasn't texting me out of the blue. She was sitting across from someone. She was looking at a man, let's call him the variety, and she was feeling the chemistry. The realization hit me with the force of a freight train. She wasn't asking for a discussion about opening our marriage in the future. She was asking for permission right now. She had the guy, she had the setting, and she had the intent. The only thing standing between her and a guilt-free night of cheating was a text message from me giving her the green light. She wanted to cheat, but she didn't want to be the bad guy. She wanted me to sign off on it so she could tell herself, Ethan said it was okay. She wanted to have her fun without the moral hangover. She thought I was sitting in Chicago, clueless and pathetic. She underestimated me. She thought she was playing a game of checkers, moving pieces around the board casually. She didn't realize she had just sat down at a chess table with a grandmaster, and I was about to checkmate her entire life. I stared at the cursor blinking on my phone screen. My thumb hovered over the keypad. The emotional part of my brain, the part that still remembered our wedding vows, wanted to type out a novel. I wanted to ask why. I wanted to scream in all caps. I wanted to demand she call me immediately. But the logical part of my brain shut that down instantly. See, I knew exactly how that conversation would go. If I texted back no, or are you crazy, she would spin it. She would tell me I was controlling, insecure, and suffocating her. She would gaslight me into an argument that would last all night, ruining my peace while she probably went ahead and did whatever she wanted anyway, just with a victim narrative to justify it. Arguing with a narcissist is like wrestling a pig in mud. You both get dirty, but the pig likes it. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of a fight. I wasn't going to give her the emotional reaction she was likely bracing for. Instead, I chose a strategy we call malicious compliance. It's the art of giving someone exactly what they asked for, knowing full well it will destroy them. She wanted freedom. Fine. She wanted to act like a single woman? Understood. But she forgot that choices have consequences, and being single works both ways. I took a deep breath, took a sip of my beer, and typed exactly 2 words. I didn't add punctuation. I didn't add an emoji. I just typed, "Variety approved." I hit send. The response was almost instantaneous. The 3 little dots appeared and disappeared within seconds, followed by a single red heart emoji. That heart emoji told me everything I needed to know. It confirmed my theory. She wasn't agonizing over this decision. She was relieved. She probably showed the phone to the guy across the table with a smirk, tucking it away into her clutch so she could focus on her cocktails and her variety. She thought she had just won the lottery, a husband who pays the bills and looks the other way. She thought the conversation was over. She put her phone away to enjoy her night. But on my end, the work was just beginning. I set my beer down on the coaster. The game was on. The timer started now. The second that heart emoji popped up on my screen, the marriage I knew was officially dead. Chloe had made her choice, and now I was going to make mine. I didn't waste a single second mourning what we had. I stood up, walked over to my home office, and flipped open my MacBook Pro. The screen glowed to life, and I logged straight into our banking portal. This is where things get technical, and frankly, where they get interesting. See, Chloe liked to project the image of an independent woman, but her independence was subsidized entirely by my paycheck. We had a joint checking account at Wells Fargo, but the real heavy hitter in her wallet was the American Express Platinum card. It was the card she used for everything: the flights, the hotels, the client dinners, the networking drinks. It was a symbol of status. But here's the detail she conveniently forgot: I was the primary account holder. She was just an authorized user. I pulled up the credit card dashboard. I could see the pending transactions from earlier in the day: a spa treatment at the Bellagio, a Sephora run, and a pre-dinner charge at a cocktail lounge. She was racking up points on my dime while planning to betray me. I didn't just lower her credit limit. That would have been too slow, and she might have had enough room left for dinner. I went for the kill switch. I navigated to the Card Services tab and selected the option for Report Card Lost or Stolen. The bank's website asked me to confirm. Do you want to freeze this card immediately to prevent fraudulent activity? I looked at the screen. In my mind, the activity was fraudulent. She was using our marital funds to finance a breach of our marital contract. It was the definition of a misappropriation of assets. I clicked Confirm. The screen refreshed. Card ending in 4098 has been deactivated. Just like that, the piece of plastic in her purse, the one she was undoubtedly planning to throw down on the table to impress her date, was nothing more than a useless scraper for a windshield. But I wasn't done yet. I moved over to the checking account. I transferred the entirety of our liquid savings into my personal high-yield savings account, leaving the joint checking balance at exactly 0. It wasn't about the money. It was about the principle. If she wanted variety, she could pay for it. I sat back in my chair, the blue light of the monitor reflecting in my eyes. The trap was set. The financial umbilical cord had been cut. But I knew I had to secure the perimeter completely. I had one more system to lock down before the panic set in. With the finances secured, I turned my attention to communication. You see, in the modern world, your life is only as good as your connectivity. Chloe was addicted to her phone. It was her lifeline to social media, her friends, and, ironically, to me. Since she was out of state, relying on hotel Wi-Fi and cellular data was crucial. And just like the bank accounts, the family phone plan was under my name. I logged into our provider's portal. Let's just say it's one of the big ones with the red checkmark. There it was, Chloe's iPhone 14 Pro. I navigated to the device options. I didn't cancel the line entirely. That takes too long and requires paperwork. Instead, I selected the option to suspend service. The reason? Lost/stolen. It's a beautiful feature, really. It immediately blocks the SIM card from connecting to the network to prevent unauthorized use. I clicked the button. Service suspended. In that instant, her 5G connection vanished. Unless she was currently connected to the restaurant's Wi-Fi, which is usually spotty at best in those dim, high-end steakhouses, she was now digitally stranded. No Uber, no Google Maps, no texts to her girlfriends to brag about her date. But I wasn't finished. The final nail in the coffin was the house itself. We had a comprehensive smart home system installed last year. Smart thermostat, smart cameras, and most importantly, smart locks on the front and back doors. I pulled up the app on my phone. I scrolled down to User Access. There was Chloe's profile, which granted her keyless entry via her unique passcode and her phone's Bluetooth. I didn't hesitate. I selected Remove User. Are you sure you want to revoke access for Chloe? Yes, I whispered to the empty room. I watched the little loading wheel spin for a second, and then she was gone. For good measure, I changed the master admin code to a random string of numbers only I knew. In the span of about 15 minutes, I had effectively erased her ability to pay, her ability to communicate, and her ability to enter her own home. I closed my laptop. The adrenaline was starting to fade, replaced by a calm, dark sense of satisfaction. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a generous glass of Blanton's bourbon, the good stuff I usually saved for special occasions, and went back to the recliner. I took a sip, the warmth hitting my chest, and checked my watch. It had been 40 minutes since her text. The bill in Vegas should be arriving any minute now. I leaned back and waited for the show to start. 40 minutes. That is exactly how long it took from the moment I sent Variety approved to the moment the first domino fell. I was sitting there, swirling the bourbon in my glass, watching the ice melt, when my phone screen lit up again. It wasn't a text message this time. It was a push notification from the American Express app. I picked it up, savoring the moment. The banner across the top of the screen was red. Transaction declined. STK Steakhouse Las Vegas, $452. I let out a low whistle. $450. They weren't just having a casual bite, they were going all out. That's a couple of dry-aged ribeyes, probably a shellfish platter, sides of truffle fries, and a bottle of overpriced Cabernet. She was really leaning into this celebration of her new freedom. She was treating this guy, a total stranger, to a feast on my dime. But here is the beautiful part about shared finances that she forgot. I get the alerts. I closed my eyes and visualized the scene playing out 2,000 miles away. You know how it goes in those high-end Vegas spots. The music is loud, the lights are dim, everyone is beautiful. The server, dressed in all black, walks over to the table with that little leather booklet. Chloe, smiling at her date, carelessly tosses the platinum card onto the tray without even looking at the bill. She's projecting total confidence. She wants this guy to think she's high status, a woman who doesn't worry about prices. The server walks away. A few minutes pass. Then, the server returns. But they don't drop the receipt. They lean in close, lowering their voice to that polite but devastating whisper that destroys egos instantly. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but the card was declined." My phone buzzed again. Transaction declined. STK Steakhouse Las Vegas, $452. She tried it again. Of course she did. She probably told the waiter, "Oh, that's weird, just run it again, the chip is probably dirty." She was likely laughing it off, flashing a reassuring smile at her Variety across the table. But the second attempt failed just as hard as the first. Now, the panic is setting in. The smile is fading. She's digging through her purse, looking for the backup card, the joint debit card. She hands it over, sweating a little now. My phone buzzed a third time. Transaction declined. Wells Fargo Visa. Because I emptied the checking account, remember? I took a slow sip of my bourbon. The silence in my living room was peaceful, but in that restaurant in Las Vegas, the silence at her table must have been deafening. She was stuck. She had eaten the steak, she had drank the wine, and now she had absolutely no way to pay for it. Her Variety was going to have to pull out his wallet, if he even had the money, or they were going to be washing dishes. The power dynamic had just shifted violently. She wasn't the prize anymore, She was a liability. If the declined credit card was the jab, the loss of cellular service was the uppercut. I imagine the scene vividly. After the second card failed, Chloe would have instinctively reached for her phone to check her banking app. She probably wanted to see if the system was down or if I had messed something up. She would have unlocked her screen, tapping furiously on the Wells Fargo icon. But instead of her account balance loading, she would have been greeted by a spinning wheel of death, followed by a connection error message. That's when she would have looked at the top right corner of her screen. Where there usually were 4 strong bars of 5G, there was now the dreaded no service or SOS icon. Panic is a funny thing. It starts slow, then consumes you all at once. She was sitting in a crowded, expensive restaurant, unable to pay, unable to call her bank, and unable to call me. She had been digitally severed from her safety net. She had to swallow her pride, which I know tasted bitter, and ask the waiter for the Wi-Fi password. It's a small humiliation, but for someone like Chloe who thrived on looking effortless, having to fumble with a public login screen while her date watched was agonizing. Once she connected to the restaurant's spotty Wi-Fi, my phone immediately lit up like a Christmas tree. Since her carrier service was dead, the calls couldn't come through the standard line. Instead, my WhatsApp started buzzing relentlessly. Missed call, Chloe. Missed call, Chloe. Missed call, Chloe. 12 times. She called me 12 times in 3 minutes. When I didn't answer, because why would I interrupt my evening bourbon? The texts started pouring in. First, they were demanding, "Ethan, pick up. The cards are declining. Fix this now." Then, they got confused. "My phone isn't working properly. Did you pay the bill? Call the bank, ASAP." Then, as the reality of the situation set in and her date likely started checking his watch, the tone shifted to desperation. "Ethan, please. I'm sitting here with the check. This is so embarrassing. Everyone is looking at us. What did you do?" I read every single one of them. The little blue double checks appeared on her screen, letting her know that I had seen the messages. I was reading them, processing them, and actively choosing to ignore them. I left her on read. It's a specific kind of psychological warfare. If I had texted back and argued, she would have had something to fight against. She could have channeled her anger at me. But by giving her nothing but silence, I forced her to sit in the mess she created. She was alone. Her Variety guy? I'm willing to bet he wasn't rushing to cover that $450 tab for a married woman whose life was clearly falling apart in real time. She was stranded in Sin City, and the house was winning. While Chloe was likely hyperventilating in the lobby of the Cosmopolitan, trying to figure out how to pay a bill she couldn't afford and explaining to her date why her rich husband had seemingly vanished, I was preparing the final blow. In any crisis, whether it's a stock market crash or a crumbling marriage, the most important thing is narrative control. I knew Chloe better than anyone. I knew her playbook. The moment she got back to a hotel room with Wi-Fi, she wasn't going to call me to apologize. No, she was going to call her mother. She was going to call her best friend, Jessica. And she was going to spin a web of lies so thick you'd need a machete to cut through it. She would paint herself as the victim. The poor wife whose controlling, abusive maniac of a husband cut her off without warning while she was innocent in Vegas. She would leave out the text. She would leave out the variety. I couldn't let that happen. Whoever tells the story first, wins. I opened our text thread again. I took a crystal-clear screenshot of her message, "I'm done with monogamy. I need variety. You stay loyal." Along with my response, Variety approved. I didn't send it to her. I sent it to the people who mattered. First, I opened the Family Updates group chat on WhatsApp. This chat included her parents, conservative, old-school folks who adored me, and her younger sister. I attached the screenshot. Then, I typed a message that was dripping with fake concern and professional detachment. "Hi everyone. I wanted you to hear this from me first. Chloe has decided that our marriage is too restricting and has requested to seek variety with other men starting tonight in Vegas. I love her enough to respect her wishes for independence. As such, I've separated our finances so she can fully fund her new lifestyle without my interference. Please check in on her. It's a big transition. Send. Next, I forwarded the same screenshot to Jessica, her best friend, the one who I suspected had been encouraging this hot girl summer behavior. My caption for her was shorter: "She's all yours now. Hope you can cover her tab." I put the phone down. I didn't have to wait long. Within 3 minutes, my mother-in-law was calling. I let it go to voicemail. I didn't need to explain myself. The screenshot was the ultimate receipt. It was irrefutable proof. I had just stripped Chloe of her ability to lie. When she finally called her mom crying about the credit cards, her mom wouldn't be sympathetic. She would be asking, "Why did you tell your husband you wanted variety?" I had successfully turned her support system into my witnesses. She wasn't just broke and stranded, she was exposed. Her reputation as the perfect wife was incinerated. She didn't stay in Vegas for the rest of the conference. Honestly, I don't think she could face the humiliation of running into her colleagues after her credit card was declined in front of the entire restaurant. She flew home the very next morning. But she didn't fly first class like she did on the way there. Since her accounts were frozen, her father, furious and embarrassed, had to buy her a one-way ticket. And knowing him, he didn't splurge. She sat in a middle seat in economy, squeezed between two strangers, with 4 hours to think about the text she sent me. I watched her arrival from my phone. The notification popped up on the Ring app. Motion detected at front door. I saw the Uber pull away. She looked exhausted. Her makeup was yesterday's, her hair was a mess, and she was dragging that heavy Louis Vuitton bag up the driveway like it was filled with bricks. She walked up to the front door, the place she had called home for 5 years, and punched in her 4-digit entry code. Beep. 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 Error. The smart lock flashed red. She frowned, confused. She tried again, punching the numbers harder this time. Beep. 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 Error. She pulled out her phone to try the app, but she couldn't log in because I had revoked her access. That's when the realization hit her. She wasn't just locked out of the bank, she was locked out of her life. She started pounding on the door, ringing the doorbell incessantly. I didn't go to the door. I didn't open it to let her in for a talk. Instead, I pressed the talk button on my phone, speaking to her through the doorbell camera speaker. Ethan, open the door. My code isn't working, she screamed, her voice cracking. She sounded desperate, scared. The code works fine for residents, Chloe, I said calmly into my phone. But you checked out of this marriage last night at 8:02 p.m. It was a joke. I was drunk. Please, let me in, let's talk about this, she pleaded, tears finally streaming down her face. There's nothing to talk about, I replied. I sent a courier to your parents' house this morning. My lawyer has drafted the divorce petition. It outlines the separation of assets based on the infidelity clause in our prenup. Your clothes and personal items will be boxed up and sent to your dad's place by the weekend. Ethan, please. You can't do this. I didn't do this, Chloe. You did. You asked for variety. You're free now. Go find it. I cut the audio feed. I watched on the screen as she slumped against the door, sliding down until she was sitting on the welcome mat, sobbing into her hands. It was a tragic sight, really. But as I sat there in the quiet house, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders that I hadn't realized I was carrying. She wanted a life without consequences, and I gave her a lesson she would never forget. The variety she wanted cost her everything she had. And me. I've never slept better. It has been exactly 6 months since the night of the decline, as I like to call it. The dust has finally settled, and the landscape of our lives looks very different. The divorce was finalized last week. Thanks to that screenshot and a rock-solid prenuptial agreement that defined infidelity not just as physical acts but as intent to breach marital exclusivity, I kept the house, my retirement accounts, and my dignity. Chloe didn't walk away with nothing, but she certainly didn't walk away with the lifestyle she felt entitled to. I heard from a mutual friend that she's living in a small 2-bedroom apartment about 40 minutes outside the city. She's back on the dating apps, but the reality of the dating market at 32 isn't quite the fantasy she imagined. As for the variety guy from Vegas, he ghosted her before she even boarded her flight home that morning. Turns out, men who are willing to sleep with married women aren't exactly looking for long-term commitments with women who bring drama and credit card debt to the table. As for me, I'm doing better than ever. I renovated the kitchen, something she always wanted to do but I never felt like spending the money on. Now, I cook my own steaks. I've started dating again, but the dynamic is different. I don't look for someone to complete me or someone to finance. I look for a partner. Sometimes, when I'm sitting on my back porch with a drink, I look at that text message one last time before I delete it. It's a reminder. She thought the grass was greener on the other side. She didn't realize the only reason our grass was green was because I was the one watering it. When she burned the field, she was the one left standing in the ashes. And that is the story of how a 40-minute window and 2 words, variety approved, turned a cheating wife's fantasy into a nightmare. It's a harsh lesson, but it's a necessary one. Loyalty is a currency. Once you spend it, you can't earn it back. Chloe learned that you can have security, or you can have the streets, but you can't have both on someone else's dime. What do you guys think? Did I go too far with the nuclear option, or did she get exactly what she deserved? If you were in my shoes, would you have waited for her to come home, or would you have locked the door just like I did? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I read all of them. If you enjoyed this story of instant karma, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Inspiration Seeker and ring that notification bell so you never miss a daily dose of reality checks and revenge stories. Thanks for watching, stay loyal, and I'll see you in the next video.